I'd like to call to order the regular meeting on September 14, 2020. Please join Vice Mayor Stipp in the Pledge of Allegiance and the invocation.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Almighty God, our prayer this day is that you will fill us with your faith and love so that we might love you with all our heart. Be with us tonight as we do your work here in the city of Goodyear. We pray that we will make wise decisions in fulfillment of your will. Heavenly Father, you are the strength for all who trust in you, and without your aid, we can do no good thing. Grant us the help of your grace that we might please you both in will and deed. We ask that you continue to watch over our state and city from the ravages of the pandemic and pray healing and mercy to those who have been affected by this disease. Keep the men and women serving this nation, both here and abroad, in your protection. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Vice Mayor. We have one of our council members. Oh, she came. Well, let me just hold that. We have our council member Campbell entering the building.
A little bit of an obstacle course there. I hate that too.
Then we are all present. The city clerk will now give information about how to participate in tonight's meeting.
While the Goodyear City Council meetings are open to the public, the occupancy has been reduced to implement social distancing. Seating is generally available on a first-come basis, but meeting attendees will be cycled in and out if necessary to allow for speakers to speak on certain agenda items. If you wish to speak during a regular meeting, please complete a speaker's card so that we may ensure you are in the room for that item. Face masks are required and must be worn when moving throughout the building. Our residents still have the ability and several ways to address the council. They may submit their comments and questions to publiccomments@goodyearaz.gov, and during meetings, they can view the meetings using Facebook and their link from our agendas using Granicus. After the meetings have been completed, they can also be viewed on YouTube. The public may always contact the mayor and council at any time by sending an email to gycouncil@goodyearaz.gov.
Thank you. We have one communication item tonight. The first item is exciting. It's an update on the programming activities of Innovation Hub, including performance data. Economic Development Project Manager Dara Mann presenting. Dara, we've been looking forward to this. You have the floor.
Okay. Good evening, Mayor and Council. Thank you for this opportunity to provide an update on the Innovation Hub at Goodyear AZ. I am Dara Mann, Economic Development Project Manager and Manager of the Innovation Hub for the last 5 years. Well, tomorrow will be 5 years. The last update to Council was in July of 2015, so I will also provide some background information. The Innovation Hub is located inside the Goodyear Branch Library and was the first partnership of its kind in the West Valley. The partnerships were the brainchild of Arizona State University's Entrepreneurship Outreach Network, or EON, formerly Alexandria, with the goal of reducing the barrier to business ownership by providing free training and access to resources within a familiar place, the public library. The partnership agreement between ASU, Maricopa County Library District, and Goodyear was approved by Goodyear City Council in February 2014. There are about a dozen similar partnerships listed as current members on ASU's EON website. There are now 3 in the West Valley. ASU provided guidance and a flexible framework for each city and library team to customize their program to meet the individual needs of their community. Since our partnership is with Maricopa County Library District, the hub space and programs are open to anyone throughout the county, which includes the exceptional benefit of access to all library resources, both tangible and digital, We've always had, excuse me, we've always had a great relationship with the Goodyear Library staff, and we appreciate Ben and the entire team. When reopened, the hub space will be available to the public during regular library hours. Entrepreneurs can reserve the conference room on the left, and I share the office on the right with Greater Phoenix SCORE for one-on-one mentoring appointments. SCORE is a 501c3 and a resource partner of the United States Small Business Administration, providing free mentoring and business training since 1964. We are very fortunate to have Jay Gladney, past SCORE chapter president, provide mentoring at the hub 2 Saturdays a month. The hub program photos you see in this presentation were all taken pre-COVID, and programs are currently being offered virtually. These photos represent each type of program offered at the hub. Most programs are held in the community room for capacity and not to disrupt the library patrons or staff, and to offer programming after hours. Business Builders is held one evening a month and is half business workshop and half networking practice. Participation in hub programs helps early stage business owners build their confidence, their support network, and their business. The hub provides opportunities for small business owners to connect with one another, launch and grow their businesses, and introduces them to resources available to small businesses on the national, state, and local levels. Each series of ASU Startup School consists of 12 class hours. Right now, due to COVID, we have 3 options, all virtual. Every other Saturday, 6 2-hour sessions, a Tuesday-Thursday series, which starts tomorrow, and a 4-day series that will be held next month. It's not a graded course, and there are no college credits associated with the class. Entrepreneurs finish the series with the tools to research and build a strong business plan, and information on resources available to help them be successful. Each series covers the topics you see here. Most are self-explanatory. Business structure includes researching options on forming their business and where to find business license and permitting information required for their particular industry sector. After completing 11 full series of ASU Startup School, here's what we know about attendees in the aggregate. 29% drop out after attending only one class, and that's okay. Many decide they're not quite ready, which Startup School helps them realize, hopefully, before they've committed resources. 40% already own a small business. 8% attend in support of a spouse, partner, relative, or friend. And so far, entrepreneurs have launched 31 businesses during or following their attendance in the program. These are some of the amazing entrepreneurs who participate in various programs at the hub. Most were already in business, and some are just starting out. As I mentioned previously, participation is not limited to Goodyear residents, although the majority of participants are Goodyear residents, nearly 70%. 24% are from the neighboring communities of Avondale, Buckeye, Litchfield, and Tolleson, 6% from Phoenix and Tempe, and the remaining is from the Northwest Valley, Peoria, Surprise, Waddell, Youngtown, and Sun City. Goodyear's Innovation Hub exists to encourage and connect these passionate entrepreneurs. They may be launching a business on their own, but they are not alone. If you were curious of those 31 businesses that were started, these are the industry sectors in which those fall, from the most to the least. So most being business-to-business marketing and business services, and then down to we had one nonprofit and one home-based bakery. Innovation Hub interactions are one of economic development's annual performance measures. And the conference room there means reservations at the Innovation Hub, and mentoring includes my mentoring appointments as well as the Greater Phoenix SCORE mentoring appointments. So for our annual goal of 480, we hit 1,158. I'm happy to share that participation and interactions at the Innovation Hub continue to build. And generally, year over year, the conference room accounts for about 25% of all of our interactions, but due to COVID, that's been down to just under 18%, but we've made up for that with virtual programming and reaching out through email and phone. The Innovation Hub operates on a very economical budget. We were fortunate and very thankful to have received additional funds, which allowed us to accomplish a number of things. We recently completed a refresh inside the hub, updating to the colorful graphics you see here. We purchased 3 Greater Phoenix SCORE workshops and allowed participants to attend free of charge. We represented the hub at the annual West Valley Chambers of Commerce Alliance Biz to Biz Expo last year. And we purchased an iPad and a locking stand to replace the sign-in sheet when the library reopens. So what does the future hold for the Innovation Hub? This image is an artist's rendering of the potential space at the Civic Square. So plans for the future Civic Square, including relocating the library and the Innovation Hub. The hub space will be about 300 square feet larger than it is now. Although we lose some of our dedicated open space, we gain a second larger conference room, and we will be adjacent to business materials and a large shared open space on the second floor. I'm anticipating most programming will still be held away from the hub in the new first floor community room, again for capacity and for after-hours programming. We will continue to evolve the successful programs that we have now and look for ways to incorporate additional small business development assistance to meet local business owners' needs. We'll also identify additional training and networking opportunity for all participants. We recently surveyed Startup School participants and asked business owners if they were interested in mentoring at the Innovation Hub. We received 16 responses in the categories that you see here: peer-to-peer mentoring, small business roundtable, and industry expert presenter at both Startup School and Business Builders. I'm excited to utilize their expertise to help their peers. That concludes my presentation. I'd like to leave you with the survey comments from a few Innovation Hub Startup School participants. We are very happy to be part of a city working to support small business. I thought the course was really well done. I especially love that it's here in Goodyear, that it's in collaboration with the library, and that it's free. Thank you, Mayor and Council. I'm available for questions.
Well, thank you. Comments, Council? Councilman Loretano?
I want to thank you for the presentation, first of all, and all the work your team does. It's great to see all the small businesses. As a small business owner myself, I can tell you they've been decimated out there. So thank you for all the support and the continuing support, and just even some of that peer-to-peer mentoring for someone to talk to someone and get some ideas right now. It's a great thing. So thank you for keeping that communication open, and I'm looking forward to a bright future.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor and Council.
Well, yes. Councilman Hampton?
Yeah, also, I think it's a very great program. I've been telling a lot of people to go there, and then when I go there, I see 4 or 5 people I already know who are starting businesses or are excited. They're really excited to be there. A lot of good success stories. So I think it's a great opportunity because small businesses are definitely a foundation for our community and the region. So having this is definitely a great resource for them. And like I said, some are businesses that are just starting out. Some are ones that just want to learn a little bit more, already established, and learn some more tools to make themselves better. So I think it's a great resource. I'm looking forward to it continuing. And the numbers, as you can see, have continued to grow. So I think it's definitely gaining more popularity, and it's a great resource. So thank you so much for leading it for the 5 years. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Mayor and Council.
Councilman Kano?
I just want to say thank you for keeping it going during all this time and how important it is, and that you're even reaching out and looking forward to the future. I like that you're continuing to wanting to grow and continue to improve it. So I think you have a great foundation, and I look forward to continued great success. I think it's an invaluable service we provide, not only for Goodyear, but for our region.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor and Council.
Well, Darren, you've come a long ways. You remember when it first started? I do. So congratulations. I'm excited. You've worked so hard.
Thank you.
We've had a downturn, and now we've had the COVID. So, I mean, you've gone through some mountains you had to climb. And it looks so much nicer in there. It really is getting very, very professional looking, and the extra seating and all of that. And when you think that we actually confined you to a small area, and yet you've been able to accomplish so much. And I'm sure those people that opened their businesses are telling you all the time, thank you for that. They would not have it, so congratulations.
Thank you, Mayor and Council.
Now is the time for citizens who would like to address the City Council on any non-agenda item within the jurisdiction of Goodyear City Council.
No speaker cards, Mayor.
Thank you. Will the city clerk please read consent agenda items 2 through 5 by title only?
Number 2, approval of minutes. Number 3, accept the dedication of the quitclaim deed for a portion of West Camelback Road adjacent to the Azure Canyon development from Camelback 240 Acres Limited Partnership. Number 4, authorize the issuance of an easement to Southwest Gas Corporation within the existing 175th Avenue alignment as required for the abandonment of a portion of 175th Avenue. Number 5, adopt resolution number 2020-2097, authorizing the submission of an application for the Edward Byrne Memorial Justice Assistance Grant JAG program funds to U.S. Department of Justice, authorizing the city manager to execute all documents relating to said application, and authorizing the city manager to execute a grant agreement if grant funds are awarded, and authorizing the city manager to approve the required budget transfer if grant funds are awarded.
Thank you. Does anyone on the council wish to remove an item from this consent agenda? Then I would like a motion and a second to approve items 2 through 5. Do I hear that motion?
So moved.
Second? Second. I heard a motion from Councilman Mazzillo and a second from Vice Mayor Stipp. Roll call vote, please.
Vice Mayor Stipp?
Aye.
Councilmember Loretano?
Aye.
Councilmember Campbell?
Aye.
Councilmember Hampton?
Aye.
Councilmember Kano?
Aye.
Councilmember Pizzillo?
Aye.
Mayor Lord?
Aye.
The motion carries.
All right. So the next one is a business to consider approving the preliminary plat for Estrella parcel 11.H. Now, we'd had a little discussion. Is this the one that they want council can have a conversation with in between? You don't remember that? Well, I'm just going to leave it on the floor. So if you do have a question, I'm going to let you ask the question in the middle. So just kind of give me a signal, okay? And we have Christopher Baker, our Development Services Director. Christopher?
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, Council. Tonight, I'm here to present the Australia Parcel 11H preliminary plat. The subject property is located in the Lucero portion of Australia, which is just a little bit north of the traffic circle, right by the Star Point, or Star Tower, excuse me. The subject parcel, as you can see outlined on the map on your right, is parcel 8 on this drawing that has the red box around it. It is zoned for low-density, single-family residential, low and medium-density, single-family residential. The plat before you this evening is about 25 acres, includes 5 tracts, and creates about 67 lots. You can tell from the plat that there are 2 points of ingress and egress off of Hillside and also Sendero, so there's no issues as far as access goes. Those will be improved roads providing access to the community. It meets all the zoning classification requirements in the PAD as well as the zoning ordinance and all the engineering design standards. Planning Commission considered this at their August 26th meeting and recommended approval to the council.
Thank you. Are there any speaker cards?
No, Mayor.
Thank you. Then I need a motion and a second to approve the preliminary plat for the Australia parcel 11.H subject to stipulations. Do I hear that motion?
So moved.
Second.
I heard a motion from Councilman Campbell and a second from Councilman Kano. Open for council discussion. Councilman Campbell.
So, Christopher, with us approving this preliminary plat for 11H, does that make all of the Lucero pad complete, or is there still more to develop there?
There's plenty more to go. Yes, ma'am. So all of these, there's the pointer, like 1112, 1111, 11E, there's all of this up in this area here. All is still pending development. This around here is under construction currently on generally this side of Hillside Drive, so there's quite a bit still to go.
Okay, I was just going by this map, and I was assuming everything in the circle with the number and alphabet meant that it had already come before council.
No, ma'am, not all of it. That's just the designations
Okay.
of the parcels as we move forward.
All right, well, this is an exciting area of Estrella, and they're beautiful homes. It's very well done, and I'm excited to see them moving forward and doing even more homes up there.
Yes, ma'am.
Any other comments? Well, I say I drove up there this weekend. I was amazed, all the homes that are there and how much really land mass they have up there. It was really fun. I really wish COVID wasn't here because I would have gotten out of the car and toured some of them, but I didn't do that. So, well, great. So council, let's vote for this. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Let's go to number 7. On the business is consider authorizing a community paramedic pilot program with United Healthcare. Fire Chief Paul Louisi presenting. Paul?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Tonight we're going to provide an update on our United Healthcare grant that we have for our community paramedicine project. So just by way of a reminder, what does community paramedicine do? Helps us coordinate the care for patients that otherwise would use the 911 system for emergency department to solve, or the emergency department to help solve their medical issues. Really still a new and evolving model. So originally last year I came in front of you and presented the idea of the grant with United Healthcare. So it was actually about a year ago. We began seeing patients in early November. The grant was originally for $175,000. Unfortunately, we had to pause operations because of COVID. And so we really got about 6 months in of seeing patients prior to the pandemic hitting. So we wanted to make sure that we were providing updates to council, but and we were planning on doing an update in April, but unfortunately we were in a pause for operations. So really the purpose for us with the grant, and we worked quite a bit with United Healthcare on this, is making sure we're hitting the frequent users of the 911 system. We're looking for field referrals, so that's something that we really wanted to improve from our first pilot that we had done. We really wanted to improve our field referrals, and those are the ones coming from the crews. And then also looking for some increased visibility with the hospitals or facilities that we help serve. We're still defining our patients the same way, somebody that accesses the 911 system 3 or more times in a month, 12 or more times in a year. But then again, there's the definition for a field referral, which is coming from the 911 crews. Again, we're still out proactively visiting prior to them calling 911. That's really our goal. Emphasizing the data collection, we worked with United Healthcare on really refining our data metrics to make sure that we were collecting information that was beneficial to them. In some of our goals is to reduce the emergent use, so the non-emergent use of the 911 system, and then also help reduce the readmission rates for the 3-day, 7-day, and 30-day patients. We really felt like some of the model that we had in the first grant that we had done rolls over into this one, trying to create that sustainable model, demonstrate to our healthcare professionals and providers and partners that this is a sustainable model. We really want to try to support that vulnerable population as much as we can. We're trying to reduce the burden on the emergency departments, and we really want to continue to provide that outstanding, innovative customer support. We continue to develop our referral network because we feel like that's very important. We don't want to be the stop or the end all for these patients. We want to be able to refer them on to the correct medical resources. So we've got these groups, if not more, that are already interested in continuing that relationship with us, and they include Benevita, Brookdale, Care First, Area Agency on Aging, Crisis Response Network, Home Instead, Hospice of the Valley, which have been tremendous partners for us, as well as Meals of Joy. The update, unfortunately, is Peoria is going to pull out of the operations of the program. They did receive direction from their council to start a new program, and because of their staffing, they needed to direct their staffing towards that new program. So Surprise and Goodyear would like to continue this program. We'll continue to see patients between 2 and 3 times per week. Peoria will still administer the grant for us financially, so we don't have to keep changing money back and forth. And we'll just invoice them for our costs during the remainder of the program. So what did we do in the first 6 months? We created more partnerships. One of them was with Health Current, who holds all the health information exchange for over 7 million covered lives. And so that allowed us to create patient alerts. So anytime one of our patients may have gone to a doctor's office visit, or even if unfortunately they had to go back to the emergency department, we would get an alert into the system. That way we would know to connect with them within 24 to 48 hours. We trained an additional 13 medics. We had over 225 patients contacted. We were able to enroll 92 patients into the program, and we provided over 200 assessments for those patients. Predominantly, a lot of our patients suffer from diabetes, asthma, COPD, CHF, social needs, and other healthcare needs as well. We continue to do the same assessment. We're in their home, and it's quite a bit of what they do. The medics tend to spend more than an hour with these patients. So it's a different approach. You know, typically we're spending 10 to 15 minutes on an emergent call. Now we're spending over an hour really trying to understand what their needs are and trying to find that root cause and develop the right resource for them. So today, what we'd like to do is recommend to continue with the Community Paramedicine Grant with Surprise, United Healthcare. They've been great partners, and I am available for any questions that you may have.
Chief Louisi, thank you. Are there any speaker cards?
No, Mayor.
Would anybody in the audience like to speak? Then I need a motion, a second, to authorize the city manager or the designee to execute all documents necessary to enter into the amended and restated intergovernmental agreement with the city of Peoria and the city of Surprise for provisions of community paramedicine services. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Second.
I heard a motion from Councilman Loretano and a second from Councilman Pizzillo. Open for council discussion. Councilman Pizzillo?
Chief, what is the hospital's participation in this program, or are they an active partner of any kind?
We actually had the most participation this time so far with Del Webb. They actually started referring patients to us that they wanted us to follow up on. They were very high-risk patients, so they wanted to ensure that they were, getting all their medical resources. We continue to have ongoing conversations with Abrazo, and so we're hopeful at some point that those partnerships will continue or improve.
The reason why I ask is that your goal is admirable, and my gut tells me, and I'm sure you probably don't have all the numbers, but there's got to be some reductions, I would assume, in Abrazo and some of our local hospitals of not using the emergency operations. So with that being said, I would think it's to their advantage to participate, and I'm hoping in the future you'll be able to do a negotiation with them to try to get them to partner with this, because I see a win-win for both.
Yeah.
Reduce their costs, and I believe with the way the healthcare system is set up now, if they get repeat people going back into their system, I think it affects their billing as well. So
Yes.
I would think it's in their best interest. So good luck. I hope you can try to lock that down, because I'm a firm believer that that partnership would be a win-win for both the patients, the hospital, the city, et cetera. So again, I appreciate all your efforts. Thank you.
Thank you. And if I just could add, this partnership with United Healthcare is evidence of our ability to at least tell our story and show our data and the benefits of that data. So kudos to United Healthcare kind of taking a chance on us. So we hope to continue that partnership with them as well as our local hospitals.
Yeah, and I appreciate them stepping up.
Yes.
I would like to see some of the others, partner with you as well, but I appreciate them stepping up.
Agreed.
Because, if you can have a plan where you're trying to sort of nip it in the bud up front,
Yep.
everybody wins in that, and I appreciate all those efforts. Just wish you could get some of the others to see those benefits as well. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Councilmember Campbell?
Well, Mayor and Council, I ask Chief Luigi to come and talk to the Maricopa County Human Services Committee and explain our wonderful program and share it with all the other cities that sit on that board with me. I'm very proud of this, and I have probably spoken to our city manager 5 million times to ensure that we could continue funding this program because 2 years ago, I think it was 2 years ago, maybe it was a year ago, I was actually at a patient's home. Unbeknownst to me, the community paramedicine crew came in, assessed him, and really changed his life because he had been so scared. And Joe was, what, 95, 96?
Yeah.
And he was scared. He didn't know what to do. He didn't know what medicines to take. He couldn't read the bottles. And the professionalism that our crew showed him and the concern and the caring changed his whole demeanor, and he was not afraid anymore. So they continued to make calls to him. They even helped us get him situated into a home so that he would be safe because we determined he was not safe living alone, and he had no family. So it's just such an important program, and I really would encourage Mayor Lord and possibly Representative Osborne to talk to Abraza's board even to show them that this is such an important part of our community, especially since it's our own fire department. We want to give our residents this service because it is absolutely fabulous, and it does clear up when someone is discharged. They don't hear the directions halfway, they don't read them, and they don't understand them. So when our paramedicine crew comes by and reinforces what the doctor said and explains it in plain English that they can understand, it makes all the difference in the world, and it makes these people not call 911 because they're afraid. So thank you for all you do. Thank you for all your crews. You're wonderful, and we are real proud of it.
Thank you.
Councilmember Loretano?
Thank you so much. That just really puts it in perspective when you hear about someone who's talked to someone who's used a program. I support this program 100%. Now, I do have a question. With COVID, are you back up and running, able to do it yet, or with changes, or what's up?
Yeah, so the goal is to bring the medics back, do a refresher with them, just to make sure we're all on the same page, and then get out to start seeing patients probably end of October, early November. So we're ordering enough PPE for them that they'll be safe. So we feel like at that point, we'll be safe enough to go in to see the patients. So
Now, I do have a question about that because I've been hearing about the rapid testing. Is that something that either they or fire or somebody that we're going to have access to in the near future? Because you guys are the front lines.
You know, we're listening with the county public health at their level, trying to understand how they're going to make that available for us. So those conversations continue, but we've had some really great healthcare partners that have not let us down at all. So when we need testing, we're able to get it pretty quickly. So
That's good to hear, and I do support it 100%. I think it's a wonderful program, especially from what you say. The people that you're serving are the people most at risk with flu season coming on top of everything else that's going on. So thank you, and I'm sure not only you're helping them, but you're saving their lives. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Any other comments? Well, I'd just like to say that, we hear time after time partnership in the West Valley, and this is a prime example of that. And I think that just brings us all closer together, and especially when you talk about health and life. And Wally, that was a really good conversation you just had with the chief, telling your on-hand experience. And then lastly, I've been in the hospital several times, and when you're being checked out, they're telling you what to do, but you're not in a mental state to absorb it. And sometimes I've said on the hospital board meeting that it needs to be a little bit slower, and they need to be a little more help, find some other way. They're very good. They list the medication on the board, on the white board, and then they brief them. But I can tell you, I've gotten home several times and thought, what did they say? You know, and then the pills come and go, what am I supposed to take? So, yeah, and I think it hits all ages because it's the state you are. You're anxious because you want to go home, but then you're going to leave that care. And it get really uneasy because who's going to take care of me if I have it reoccur? So I think this is real good, and I am happy to talk to the board. It's worthwhile. But before I do, you're going to give me a briefing.
Of course.
One that I can carry with me.
Absolutely.
So that I make sure that everything works for that, okay?
Absolutely.
Well, thank you. So now we're going
Thank
to
you.
vote on this. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it.
Thank you.
You're welcome. The next item of business is consider approving the light emitting LED street light conversion. Do you see how I went over that name really quickly? Did you like the way I did that? Of course. City Traffic Engineer Hugh Bickoff will present. Hugh?
Thank you, Mayor, members of council. Again, I'm Hugh Biak, and I have Doug Sandstrom, and tonight we'll be presenting the LED streetlight implementation project. Just give you a quick agenda what I'll be going over this evening. First will be, we'll go over the project background. Next, the implementation plan. Then a summary of the costs and savings. Then I'll turn over to finance to discuss the financial details. And then closing with a recommendation. Give a quick background on this project. We'll start in October of 2010. That's when the city purchased the streetlight system from APS. At that time, the city system had 8,150 high-pressure sodium streetlights. And then moving ahead, August of 2017, that's when the city updated our design standards to require that all new streetlight installations were to be LED technology. Then January 2018 is when council approved the streetlight audit and pilot project. And details on the pilot project, 3 areas in the city installed LED streetlights. The first location was Litchfield Road from Van Buren to I-10. The second location was selected local streets in the Estrella community. And then the third location were selected local and collector streets in the Sadea community. Moving ahead to July of 2018, the results of the audit were discussed in a council work session, and the project was added to the CIP. And then just a few months ago, in July of 2020, the LED streetlight implementation project was approved as part of the fiscal year 21-25 CIP. The implementation plan. The plan is starting this month, if approved, starting this month, and then into the following month, October of 2020, the contractor will purchase the light fixtures. And then October of this year, 2020, through February of 2021, the light fixtures will be installed by the contractor. And then March 2021, the project will be complete and the warranty period will begin. Regarding the warranty, the LED streetlight fixtures will have a warranty of 10 years, and their labor from the installation will have a 1-year period of warranty. The project area. The project area for this project is it will install LED streetlights on all public developed streets in the city, with 2 exceptions. One exception are the decorative streetlights in Estrella that are along Estrella Parkway and Elliott Road. Reason is those are owned by the Estrella Joint Committee or the HOA. The other location is the North Subdivision neighborhood shown on the slide above. The reason why is those existing streetlight locations in the North Subdivision do not meet city standards, and a large number of those locations will require new poles. So it was determined by city staff that this area would be better suited as its own standalone streetlight project. And that is an existing CIP project, and it will install 88 new LED streetlights. The design will take place in this current fiscal year 21, with construction in fiscal year 22, And a majority of that funding for that project will be by Community Development Block Grant Funding, otherwise known as CDBG funding. So a summary of the costs and savings. The LED lights, the purchase of the LED lights and their installation is estimated at $3 million. The construction administration by a third party is estimated at $100,000 for a total project cost of $3.1 million. Regarding savings, one of the main reasons for this project is saving money, and the annual savings with this project are in two different areas. The first one is the guaranteed energy savings per year, which are guaranteed by the contractor, which the first year is guaranteed to be no lower than $311,600. And the maintenance savings per year, what we pay to maintain the streetlights currently, the savings in that area will be approximately $90,000 per year, totaling the $401,600 per year. And the simple payback, using those numbers, what I just described above, would equal 7.7 years. The project budget. Initially, this project was scoped in 2018. And that project at that time was scoped to be $3,392,000. However, since that time, we've reworked the project as discussed in previous slides, removing the north subdivision. And with that, we also had the differences between the two projects, between the 3.392 scoped in 2018, the adopted number up there, and the proposed, what I'm proposing today, the $3.1 million, was the main difference between that was the original version included 200 pole replacements as a contingency, and that is a majority of the difference in the funds you see above. And with that, I will turn it over to Doug Sandstrom for a discussion of the financials.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. One of the other differences that you saw on the prior slide was $20,000 of debt issuance costs. One of the recommendations we're bringing forward today is this project was included in the budget using financing through Amoresco to pay for it, taking that $401,000 of savings and using that to pay debt service, which would come out to about the same dollar amount. Due to the increased revenue that we've gotten in the last 3 months of last fiscal year, I'll go into some detail on that in a little bit here. Our recommendation is to use cash instead of financing it. By using cash, we will save significantly on $40,000 in bond issuance costs and about $400,000 of interest over that 10-year period. That's an estimate at 2.5% interest, which is, we got really low interest rates out there. If this money were to be invested, we would be making less than 1%. So at the end of the day, it really makes a lot of sense to save on that interest cost. And the other piece of it is it has zero impact on any other planned project that's in the mix by switching it over to cash. If for some reason something were to happen where we had a $3 million shortfall, we always have access to credit to be able to make it up. However, based on the numbers you're about to see, that's really not going to be an issue for us in the foreseeable future. Whether this project is financed or under a recommended cash approach, the payback makes the project worthwhile, whether you got debt service in there or whether you don't. On an annual basis, that $401,000 of savings would either be used to pay for the financing, or under the cash approach, it is an actual reduction in the transfer needed from the general fund into HERF. So that's freeing up $400,000 annually in operational ongoing revenues. If you could go to the next slide. Where the cash comes from, and as I said, and I think you've seen in some of our monthly reports, our estimated general fund revenues for fiscal year 2020 were $135 million. We had came back to the council back in March and really revised those down at the beginning of the pandemic just because of all the unknowns. Fortunately for us, a lot of those downfalls were never realized, so our revenues kept coming in at much higher amounts than what we had thought. At the end of fiscal year 2020, our actuals are actually just under $20 million higher than what that estimate was. A big chunk of that is in construction sales tax as well as non-construction sales tax and developer user fees, which are permits over at the development continuum. We did have in the estimate for 2020, the Arizona CARES Act of $10 million received. We had already counted on that, so that is not part of that $20 million excess. So rather than going out and borrowing $3 million when we had an extra $20 million come in, our recommendation is that we use cash instead of financing.
Thank you, Doug. So regarding a recommendation, first recommendation is to approve budget transfers utilizing $3.1 million in one-time general fund resources from increased beginning balance. And the second is to approve expenditures of $3.1 million for installing 9,160 new LED streetlights. And that concludes our presentation. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much. Are there any speaker cards?
No, Mayor.
All right. Would anybody in the audience like to speak? Can I have a motion and second to approve the expenditure in the amount of $3,100,000 for the conversion of the city street light fixtures to LED and related budget transfers to change total project budget and funding to $3,100,000 in one-time general fund and remove the $3,392,000 general government capital fund from the budget for the planned financing of the project. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Second.
I heard a motion from Councilman Vice Mayor, I always want to call you Vice Mayor Stipp, and a second from Councilman Hampton. Open for council discussion. Vice Mayor.
I've got a comment for Hugh. Congratulations on your promotion.
Thank you.
Been a long time waiting. I have a question for Doug. More of a, I think more of a statement on the whole thing. I realize where we're at with 20 million over expected revenues, et cetera. We have not had the council discussion yet on what 2021 looks like with additional, and this can quickly spiral out of control. I'm not looking at you when I say that. I'm just saying generally that we have more money on hand than we thought, and we were always led to believe that we were going to have these discussions before projects came forward. This one is definitely an exceptional opportunity, and I appreciate it coming forward, but I think we all have to just remember that until we have that discussion about what we're going to do, that this should, in the next 6 weeks or 8 weeks until we have that discussion in November, we don't get crazy and say, oh, we got an extra $30 million sitting around, that we really start to talk about how we're going to look at that strategically going forward instead of piece by piece. And I just kind of say that very, very generically. But I appreciate the heads up on it because this would have been easy to just stick with the status quo. And I appreciate you recognizing it. Thanks.
Councilman Hampton.
Not having a beard. I expected to see you.
Down to there. ZZ Top for Joe. Yeah, and your point is well taken, and we've had lots of discussion on that as well.
Councilmember Hampton.
Yeah, I appreciate, Vice Mayor Stipp's comment as well about having a discussion around the future as well. But then, I think it's a great idea to use the cash. I like using cash if we can save, especially because we're saving so much money on it as well. And then, what is the timeline for this project? I'd look at the CIP. Did we say what? That's a lot of polls. I'm curious. I'm sure it's not going to take. It'll take a while. So.
Sure. Councilmember Hampton, happy to answer your question. So this is our schedule. So this project only involves LED street lights, as in the light fixture itself. We're not replacing any poles with this project, so the process is relatively quick. So once the fixtures have been ordered, again, it's looking like approximately by the end of October, the street lights will be obtained by the contractor. And then from October of this year through February of 2021, so by the end of February, the installation should be complete.
Okay. And then you said you took the contingency out of adding new poles, and that's because we're not replacing, that's the difference with this style, is that we're not replacing the poles, it's just the light fixture. That's why you removed that contingency out of there of the 200 poles?
Yes, what was determined was that this is mostly a light fixture replacement project, And why we removed, or why the decision was made to remove the poles from the project was we wanted to keep it, it would make the project move much faster, be much quicker to complete it, as opposed to mixing in fixtures and poles. It was determined that would potentially add more additional time to the project when the main focus was just to get the lights completed and done.
Okay. No, I think it'll be great. I think it'll look really sharp in our city. So I'm looking forward to it. I know being on CDAC, that was also the project for North Subdivisions. I know that'll look great there as well. So yeah, so I think it'll be a great project for the city. Thank you.
Councilman Pizzillo?
I appreciate where you laid out the presentation, especially the fact to show the payback and where all the funds are coming from and what the difference between the construction sales tax that you expected and what you actually have. I agree, you know, to get a 7.7 payback versus 8 point some odd in years payback. We've got the cash. If things do start to go south, I still believe there's enough because of our fiscal policies and the buffers that we have out there. There's enough to make up that if we have to borrow something else. I'd rather take advantage of this since we have that kind of cash. So I'm with you on this one.
Any other comments over here? Oh, sorry. Councilmember Loretano. I think I should have called him before I did, Joe.
I didn't have my hand up then.
Ah, okay.
Thank you very much, both of you, for the presentation. I do appreciate that. Having seen these up, or at least one that I found in Estrella, it does make a big difference. I mean, it is night and day, I guess is a good thing to say, but you can tell when it's next to the other one. So I think our residents, when these get rolled out, will really like that. And I think we need to say it once again, $20 million, not including the $10 million CARES Act. That's amazing. And I want to thank our city leadership and the whole leadership team on that one, because I think that's something that's very important for our residents to hear. And I agree. I mean, I think we're all on the same page that we'll talk about the best use and as we go on. But I think this is a good use of a very small part of that to save all those financing costs over the period of time. So thank you for looking into that.
Well, I think this is a great example for residents, the steps and process it takes. We've been working with those lights for a long time, as you've noted on here, and the steps you've had to take, so it kind of gives them an example of how long it takes to do this. And of course, I don't always agree with Councilman Stiff on this, and we mentioned it before. And that's fine if council wants to come to an extra meeting, and if you're in town, and if you do that, because we do have a problem sometimes with timing. There are things that I see in the budget we could never do this with, and I would not think to do it. But you've been very clear on how percentage of what our cash is from last year, what retail has brought in. So there really isn't any risk on this. This was a project that the people wanted, and it's been sitting there for a long time. So that's where I have a question. It has been, because I was here when we were discussing this. So, Bill, that is my feelings on that, and I not being cavalier with our citizens' money at all. But I think there's some things that we have a process for that we've had out in public for a long time saying we're going to do it. And we don't have enough council meetings to hit it on the target all the time. And so we leave it. It takes more time. So that's my opinion on that. I just wanted to make it clear. And this is what this council is all about. Everybody has their own opinion, and they feel very free to talk about it. And that's why I like being mayor here, because we can all have our opinions. So thank you very much, and a nice presentation. Thank you. Very, very well done. Okay, any other comments? All right, then let's see what we're going to do. The council's done. Let's vote. All in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? The ayes have it. The final item on business this night, consider approving the appointments to the Judicial Advisory Committee, and Human Resources Director Lyman Lockett will present.
Good evening, Mayor and Council.
Good evening. That was so exuberant, I feel like I have to say it.
At the time of hire of our current presiding judge, council discussed in decided to move forward with the Judicial Advisory Committee. The first step in that process was adopting an ordinance, which was done back in late 2019. This evening, we're here to take the next step in moving forward with making this committee, bringing this committee into existence. As outlined in the ordinance, the purpose of this Judicial Advisory Committee will be to act as an advisory committee to council for the appointment of judges, the reappointment of judges, development of performance review criteria for judges, conducting performance review surveys for judges, and providing performance review feedback on judges. The council subcommittee has identified a talented group of legal professionals and citizens to join 2 existing members that are holdovers from our Judicial Selection Committee. The selection committee was involved in the selection of our current presiding judge. The ordinance requires the makeup of this committee be 2 presiding judges, 2 members of the Arizona Bar Association, 3 citizen members, and the Goodyear presiding judge is a non-voting member seated for all matters except the reappointment and evaluation of the presiding judge. If council approves tonight's action, the next step in the process will be assembling the committee to begin developing the criteria for the performance evaluation. Tonight, we're asking council to approve the appointments of the following members. Citizen members Jenny Boyle, Alex DeShuck, Robert Jones, and alternate Edwin Hopler, and legal professionals Gina Godby here, Esquire, who is with the Maricopa County Attorney's Office, Hillary Weinberg, Esquire, also with the Maricopa County Attorney's Office, the Honorable Maria Brewer, presiding judge from the City of Buckeye, and the Honorable David Fuller, the presiding judge from the City of Chandler. That concludes my presentation, and we are offering that recommendation for approval and appointment of these committee members.
Thank you very much. Would everybody in the audience like to speak? Can I have a motion and a second to approve the appointments to the Judicial Advisory Committee? Do I hear that motion?
Second.
I heard a motion from Councilman Campbell and a second from Councilman Hampton. Open for council discussion. Councilman Pizzillo.
Make sure I understand what we're doing tonight correctly. First, it's just a matter of getting the selection of the members, correct?
Correct.
Because as mentioned in my last council meeting, I've got some concerns about the culture and the environment and the turnover. Is that something that will be addressed at another meeting when we give directions to the group as what to look at and to provide some recommendations to council?
So we have a process that we've outlined, and I can walk through the process for establishing the criteria, and that might help in terms of getting feedback. So we certainly would be open to feedback tonight to ensure that this is council's process, so we want to ensure that the elements that council wants are included in the evaluation criteria.
To me, it's 2 pieces. First, to explain why there's such a large amount of turnover, number 1, and then maybe a recommendation on a plan to stabilize such turnover. Because as I mentioned last council meeting, I'm very concerned with the numbers and whether they're even sustainable over time if that continues. That's been going on there. So I'm not the day-to-day operations. I'm looking at a culture and an organization and how that is functioning. And as an HR person, I would assume you understand where I'm kind of coming from there. But I want that part of it, just not the technical skills, not just the technical abilities. I want to know the environment in which the employees are working within and under, and if there's a systemic reason why that turnover is so high, what is the recommendation to try to stabilize that and put it on the right path? So I want to make sure that's in there somewhere.
Certainly. And I believe, I'm not sure if Judge Galindo, she may have called in, so she may be online, and she may also would like to respond. But we are working with the court.
Absolutely. I am here. I'm not too sure if you can hear me all. Good evening, Mayor and Council. I am present. I have been listening. And again, this committee is for the purposes of recruiting qualified judicial staff to be both presiding and line attorneys, associate judges should the need arise based on Goodyear's growth in population. And in reference to Councilman Pazillo's inquiries, which we reached out to your office with Mr. Reeder last week to discuss and meet our direction in turn from Mr. Reeder by you, sir, was that once we received the documentation from Human Resources, would you be amenable to a meeting? We further extended the invitation to all members, mayor and council, to openly discuss the concerns that have been highlighted today of why the high rate of turnover and whether or not there is a systematic reason for such turnover and any recommendations in order to discuss the culture, environment, and high turnover rate. This morning, Mr. Lyman Lockett has graciously provided the court with what we had requested. We have a copious amount of personnel files, which we will be digging into, as well as supporting documentation, which we will in turn prepare as we have discussed with management, with HR, as well as with Mr. Reeder, and for anyone who would like to explore this further with me and with my court administrator, we are amenable to have one-on-one meetings as we have extended. Additionally, we will be preparing at your request something in writing.
Excuse me. I think this conversation by law has to stop. Our lawyer's looking at me with the evil eye. So I'm sorry I have to interrupt you, but that's the law.
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, I think we need to get back on to the subject of appointing the committee and
it's all right. You were enthusiastic. We understand. Thank you.
And I think there's two elements. If I could continue on, I think there's two elements. One, establishing the criteria for ongoing performance review, which would include an employee component, a survey component. And there are typical components that are included in the evaluation. We have included in our straw man here that will start with the committee to have a court staff survey included. So that would be ongoing. I think you have a question about immediate and at least recent past results that we could provide additional information on. On a go-forward basis, though, we would hope that the evaluation process of all the elements that are involved are constantly feeding council with that desired information.
Thank you. Any other comment? Councilman Loretano.
I just want to thank, it was Councilmember Keno and Councilmember Campbell and myself that were on the committee, and there were all, I want to just direct it back to the members of the committee, highly dedicated community members, willing to serve, volunteer. So I want to thank them all for their service. I don't believe any of them are here tonight.
No.
But if they are listening, thank you very much and congratulations.
Any other comment? Vice Mayor?
It sounds like we need one more bite at the apple on determining how we're going to do this evaluation process at another meeting that's agendized correctly. I don't know if that's a work session or if that's a yellow paper or something, but I think there's some, now that we're embarking on having a judicial advisory committee, I think we're all going to be uncertain of how does this look going forward, because in the past we've collected in a room and done this evaluation. I think we need to know what that looks like now going forward, and not tonight because it's not on the agenda. So I'll leave that up to everyone else's discretion, whether that's a yellow paper or whether we have a work session on it or whatever. But I think we need to have a better understanding of how that's going to work just generically now at whatever appropriate time. But I appreciate everyone's work. Thanks.
So we do have a motion on the table. So any other comments from this side on this motion? So we'll just go through it and vote it down and then bring it back
Mayor,
or postpone it. I'm sorry, what? This is just the people. Oh, this is just the people. Okay. All right. Okay.
We're ready to vote.
I still put a vote out there, is what we're
Yeah.
saying.
Yes.
Okay. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you very much. I think you got the message.
Got it.
Yeah, the first one and then this one. Okay. All right, council, any comments, accommodations, reports, or requests for the future items? Vice Mayor?
I have three. First, it happened on the drive to the meeting here tonight. We've been telling the folks in Palm Valley 5 that we've designated truck routes and trucks aren't supposed to go through, and I watched a semi-truck drive up Falcon Drive tonight on my way here. I followed one the other day and thought, well, maybe they delivered to the school, and I was kind of mentally generous, but tonight it was absolutely a violation of our truck route. Everybody in that neighborhood is extremely concerned about the truck traffic, and they just proved that no matter what we say, they're not abiding by it. So, and it was a UPS truck. I'm going to call them out. So we need to get to UPS, remind their drivers of the correct route to take to get out of that facility. And I think we need to do better signage about our truck routes in the city. We went through this whole gyration about identifying 303 and I-10 and no trucks unless they're making local deliveries on any of our other streets, and constantly are seeing semis down Indian School and up and down Bullard, et cetera. So I'd like to see some action on that, and that's number one. Number two is this is just a request for information on employee diversity within the city as compared to the diversity of our community. Are we reflective of, does our staff reflect our community? I'd like to know kind of where we stand in that regard, if that data is available, and if it's not available, then let's figure out how to get it. And then finally, there was a very long series one of the news channels did, posted online, regarding Brady list submittals, et cetera. I would like to have a list of the number of people that we have submitted for Brady list consideration in the last 3 years, and the reason why.
I'm sorry, for what?
The Brady list, police officer getting called out for being untruthful.
Yeah, I didn't know what a Brady list was.
Yeah.
I'm not a policeman, sorry.
Yeah, I don't want to give kudos to the news agency necessarily, but one of them locally has done a long expose. Fortunately, we weren't named, but I'd like to know where we're at.
Okay.
As you may or may not have figured out, I think us being transparent and very accountable with our police department, which is doing a great job. They've been super transparent. I think one more opportunity is a good sign for our community that we are being as absolutely transparent as we possibly can be. Hats off to Chief Rodriguez and the whole gang over at PD. But I'd like to kind of get a report on that as well. That is it.
All right, thank you. Anything else? All right, City Manager, you're on.
I don't have anything tonight, this evening, Mayor.
Okay. All righty, the next meeting would be a work session on Monday, September 21, 2020 at 6 p.m. Now, we do have a work session due, so I'm going to adjourn this. Do you need a break? All right, we'll take a 10 minutes break. This meeting's adjourned.